We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today, so we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always happens, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the war. The government has been getting bigger.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee and Crypto Live, the greatest morning YouTube crypto show out there. I'm so glad to be back with you guys. We were not here yesterday. We put it out there as much as we could, but I think some people still missed it. So for anyone who came yesterday morning expecting for Coffee and Crypto Live to happen, I'm so sorry. I had my monthly business planning meeting, and as much as it was great, I did miss you guys, but those of you who own businesses or manage teams know that sometimes the little details of how you do things really, really matter, and I had some phenomenal things happen in that meeting, give me some clarity for the future, but it's good to be back. It is Friday, July 22nd, and those of you guys who have been here for a while now know Fridays are positive Fridays, so let me hear it in chat. Let me see some positive things happening over there. Yes, there's been some FUD in the news, but the positive thing is that Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano and the rest of the crypto space has continued to move up over the last 24 hours. We're going to be talking about that and a lot more, but of course we do have to cover some of this bad news, and that is two different stories coming out of Coinbase. We're going to talk about that and a lot more. Other things to be positive about on this Friday is that we are joined by Kelly Kellum, who is in Berlin at the moment. He's going to be joining us around 10:20, so stick tuned. He's going to bring some... Oh, he's right. Did you just show him? Well, he's not going to come on until 10:20. Thank you for jumping the thing there, Smay. We're going to cover our market polls.
I'm going to give you just a visual hint.
Yeah,
That's what he looks like.
There's dancing Kelly Kellum. It's a good day. It's a good day to be here. I'm joined by these two fantastic gentlemen, T-Shroom and Smay. How about that afternoon video yesterday that T-Shroom put out? That was an amazing video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch it after the stream's over. How you guys doing this morning?
Better than at the same time, Smay.
Okay.
Better than we deserve,
there we
Tim.
Boom. How about you, Smay? You got some big news.
I got big news, guys. I just pulled up in a new whip. We put the short out earlier. Toyota RAV4 2012, perfect condition. It was like a unicorn of a find. And personally, guys, I like the 2012 better than they redid the look in 2013. I don't like the new look. I like the old look. So I'm happy I was able to get that in pristine condition.
Yeah.
So that was very exciting for me.
I've got a question for you, Smay.
Yeah.
What do you like more, reading the green names or your new RAV4?
Oh, you really put me in a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Man. But I got to be honest with you guys. Nothing gets me going like these green names.
Come on.
You know, maybe physically, literally, that RAV4 gets me going from point A to point B. You guys get me going emotionally.
Smay, if you could have an all-time high on Bitcoin tomorrow, but never be allowed to read green names ever again, would you take it?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I have to read green names.
You have to get those green names in there.
All right, guys. I'm going to read some green names here. And I will begin. We have Why You Loud, Win Peoples, Sultan of Salt, Mitch Shaw, Matt C., Kelly Kellum, Martine Siebels. Who else we got here? We got CryptoSec Guy. We got Silent, which happy birthday, by the way, Silent. It says it's his birthday, so happy birthday. We have Go CJC, Grand Roofing Incorporated, and then Adam Maville said he came in early so he could have his name read by me. So Adam Maville, shout out to you. We got Gia S, Grand Roofing Incorporated again. Thomas Post. Who else we got here? I'm seeing. Yeah, I think that's all the names that I'm seeing here.
Man, we're missing one of your favorites.
One of my favorites. He did not show up early, so
wow.
I'm gonna have.
Rusky.
Yeah,
Wow.
sorry.
We've had a streak going with that name, and it's not going to happen.
He's not here. Maybe he knows who he is, and he's gonna comment really quick, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to do it in time. All right.
Well, you're not here, don't get named. Well, guys, if you have not done it already, go ahead and smash that like button. We got 400 people watching right now, 74 likes. We definitely can get that higher. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Smash that subscribe button for daily content on the crypto space. And this is the best community in all of crypto.
It really is.
But before we jump in, because we're going to do our market polls with T-Shroom, then we're going to jump in. I'm going to get through Bitcoin very quickly, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano TA. Then we'll jump to some on-chain charts with Kelly Kellum, and then we'll talk more about that Coinbase news. But first, Smay is going to bring you a very special word from one of our sponsors, one of our favorite sponsors here. Smay, with that being said, take it away.
I jumped the gun again. I switched to myself because I didn't think you were going to keep talking.
Oh, that's fine. You're good.
We're good. Guys, when you're reaching retirement age, you wish you had some money that you definitely saved. Now, what happens when evil inflation comes along and taxes come and ruin this song? They take your money. They take all your value, then you're up a creek without a paddle. But I have some news for you. The one thing I trust is I trust capital. Start a Roth IRA and start investing with crypto today, and then you'll have all that money saved for the day that you retire. And don't have to worry about taxes. I trust capital. I trust capital. Guys, if you want to have money for when you retire and have some honey, you gotta get an I Trust Roth IRA with crypto today. Thank you.
Wow.
And also get a free, get a $100 funding reward.
I
Thank
love
you,
it.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, come on.
Back to
I
you,
Trust
Tim.
Capital. We love I Trust Capital, but that song, I don't even say anything else. That song covered all the ground.
I think I heard that song on the radio the other day, actually, and I turned it right on off.
Oh,
Right
man.
off.
If you guys didn't like that, I'm sorry. I enjoyed that.
That was great.
But it's over now, so let's go ahead and jump in. Let's do some market pulse. What is happening in the news teaser room before we jump onto the charts?
All right, the market pulse. You can go ahead and head over to my screen, Smay, and we're going to get it started. Cardano's Jebb stablecoin is seeing some success as it adds 35 new partnerships, and the mainnet launch nears. So if you've been excited for that Cardano stablecoin as much as we are, then you'd be excited by this headline as well. And sticking in the crypto space, South Korean authorities widened Terra's probe as co-founder Daniel Shin's home was raided. So this is pretty wild news here. It's really getting quite escalated here. A probe into possible illegal activity behind the algorithmic stablecoin Terra USD and the affiliated Luna token has deepened with a raid on the sole home of the firm's co-founder Daniel Shin. So definitely not good there. And a little more details. The Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea, Seoul's Southern District Prosecutor's Office confirmed the reports on the raid of Shin's home, adding that offices of two other firms affiliated with the Chai app were raided as well. Chai, of course, is kind of in the same orbit as Terra Luna. It's kind of like the Venmo of South Korea in a way, and it's kind of tied in with Terra Luna there. So, it sounds like that Chai app may be looped in with the wrong crowd here. Moving along, though, the DOJ, Department of Justice, U.S., and the SEC have charged former Coinbase product manager with insider trading, and this would be the first of its kind in the crypto space. Former Coinbase product manager and two others together ran a year-long insider trading scheme that generated more than $1.1 million in profits, U.S. federal authorities alleged. I'm not going to try. Ishan Wahi, while an employee at the San Francisco-based cryptocurrency exchange, alleged provided information regarding upcoming token listing on Coinbase to his brother Nakial Wahi and his friend Samir Ranani. Authorities claim Wahi's brother and Ramani then used this knowledge to buy tokens before Coinbase announced their listing and then sell them quickly for profit. If this is true, this is straight up the middle, classic, insider trading. So the Department of Justice announced today that all three individuals have been charged with wire fraud conspiracy and wire fraud in connection with a scheme to commit insider trading in cryptocurrencies asset by using confidential crypto information. And like we said, this is the first. This would be the first of its kind. And in April, Coinbase announced it would no longer publish a short list of assets it was considering listing after an Ethereum trader bought $400,000 worth of tokens in advance of that list becoming public, and the assets jumped to 42% in 24 hours. So somebody else has set precedent for this, but I don't think that they were charged. I think that was just an internal decision to change policy there by Coinbase. So hopefully Coinbase will be immune by this, and only those asset managers, this asset manager Ishan Wahi, will be facing any kind of penalty there. But yeah, Tim, anything to say about those? But yeah, straight up the middle.
We're gonna talk. Yeah, we're gonna talk more about Coinbase and all that stuff down there.
Yeah.
Here a little bit later in the show. But yeah.
Yep. Coinbase has gotten the 1-2 punch today, and we're gonna cover that. But
yes.
Before we leave the market pulse, a couple more things to consider here. The first is that the CME federal fund rate prediction is still predicting 75 basis point hike. And you'll see up these numbers are a little confusing. We were even a little confused on how to read them, but this represents the 75 basis point hike, and the one above it represents 100% basis point hike. Mm-hmm. These numbers are what the rate would go to, not the amount it would be raised. So this is it would go to 2.75. Right now it is 1.75. So you can see that would be 100. This would be 100%, 100 basis point hike. This would be a 75. And the CME futures are predicting overwhelmingly a 76% that it would be a 75 basis point hike. And then before we leave the market pulse here, we just wanted to point out that in the last 3 months, we are going to hopefully have a crypto market cap closing above 1 trillion. So in the last 3 months, this has only happened in May, that it closed the month above 1 trillion. In June, it did not. And so we're hoping that in July, we will have that. And then we will see what the rest of the year holds. But it would be nice to get a close above 1 million, just above 1 trillion, just to show a little bit of strength here in the market. And then you can leave my screen now, Smay. And the last thing I'll say is something we've been talking about profusely, which is just keep your eyes and ears perked for headlines around the Fed decision on the 27th of next week. It's going to be very important. We're going to have special live coverage of that at 2 p.m. on the 27th. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. People have always enjoyed tuning in for that and hearing what we have to say about the Fed decision that comes out at 2. So we'll be going live right when it comes out. And then Powell's speech, and then our short commentary at the end. Yeah. People have really enjoyed that. So that will conclude our market pulse there. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, I'm excited to even have that show. Caleb Franzen will be joining us next Wednesday in the morning for Coffee and Crypto, and then also for that 2 p.m. live coverage of what those FOMC numbers actually are. So those of you who got to see Caleb Franzen on with us last Friday, a week ago, you guys know he has some amazing analysis. So excited to get him back on the show. But let's
Tim, I really like Caleb Franzen.
I really like Caleb Franzen too.
Gets 2 thumbs up from me.
I really like him. Hopefully he's watching here. If you are, shout out to Caleb Franzen. But let's go ahead and jump in. Let's do some quick technical analysis. And I'm actually going to try to get through Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. We're not going to go crazy deep. I'm going to kind of just flow through what is happening right now. Starting with Bitcoin right here. Guys, there was a little bit of concern. If we went down to the 4-hour chart, we started to we got above that 23,300, that 23,200 area. And we were moving up, and then all of a sudden, of course, we started to come back down. You guys are going to find that this is actually just coming down and giving us a third touch of an ascending level of support. So we still have a higher low here, so not anything to be freaked out about yet. Again, I'm still at this point, even when we were dipping, I still am looking at this golden pocket that we had. If you go back on Fibonacci retracement all the way back here to this peak on June 6th, and you go to the and the bottom that we had back here on 17, that golden pocket I still think is significant. And just so you guys know, a lot of analysts, a lot of TA analysts are potentially expecting, if the number on the FOMC gives us is 75 basis points, I don't think anyone thinks he'll go lower, but if it's lower, that's even more so. But if he stays at 75 and does not get hawkish with 100, we could climb, get above this 25, and then potentially for a while end up trading within a range of 25 to 30. So keep an eye out for that. But right now, this golden pocket, that 25,000, about 400 or so, is the level to watch. I'm looking for it as resistance, but if we can break through it, I think there's a chance that those analysts are correct. Again, you guys know I also have talked about this range between 28.6 and 30,000. I definitely think those are in the cards, but we're going to talk about that more today when I go on to today's Friday, but I'm going on Cointelegraph with Data Dash, and we're going to talk about that $30,000 level. You don't want to miss it. Go check that out. But as far as Bitcoin, as far as it stands right now, we're still well within what's happening with this little relief rally. We're hesitating right here. You guys see that green flat level Fibonacci? That's the 0.5. We are a little bit wrestling with that. If you zoom in on those 4-hour candles, we got up right to it, but now we have a red candle building. I'm not reading too much into that. As I said, we are still staying with this ascending level of support at the moment. I'm not freaking out too much about that. We're still, even though we broke back down into this kind of bear flag we had been in, we're back above it. Let's keep an eye on what happens with that over the next couple of days. Let's move on and go down to Ethereum because, of course, Ethereum is really, really, really exciting. I still think the level I'm looking for Ethereum before I think that it might have a little bit of a cool off is 17,000, potentially maybe even all the way up to around 18,000. You guys know on this Fibonacci retracement, watch what happened. We rallied over here, got stuck twice at that 0.786, had a double top right there, came back down, touched that golden pocket, and now we're rallying. Now we broke above it briefly, that 0.786. We're down below it again, but I do think that Ethereum, just like Bitcoin, I think that there's some bullish momentum coming. I wouldn't freak out about that just yet. I still think there's a lot happening there. Really cool things with Ethereum. Even, there's a speculation out there that when ETH 2.0 launches, it's not just that they're going to be able to, of course, now have their proof of stake system. They'll be potentially deflationary. That should boost in the price. And then also what Raoul Paul said the other day about it kind of setting a benchmark for lending and yielding protocols in the entire crypto space could be massive adoption for Ethereum. Again, right now, let's focus on 17 to 18,000. If it can jump that and go higher, I do think there is a chance, and we're going to talk more with his Kelly here in just a couple of minutes. There is a chance we get above that we could do some damage and get up above maybe even 2,000 on Ethereum. Again, all of this, though, as much as this is Positive Friday, and I am positive, this does not rule out that we have set the bottoms for either Ethereum or Bitcoin. So don't get too far ahead of yourself and think, we're bear market over. It's nothing but up from here. There are a lot of good signs, but there's a lot that could happen in the market that still bring us back down. So that's all I have for you guys here on Ethereum for today. Let's go down to Cardano and look what's happening with Cardano. Of course, we broke bullish out of this falling wedge that we had been in for the last couple of months. It's doing, very similar things as what we're doing over here with Bitcoin and Ethereum. However, we are, starting to rally. We're gearing up for that. What was I saying? Vasil hard fork. Sorry, got a little lost there. Vasil hard fork, and hopefully that will come very soon and bring us some bullish momentum. A lot of analysts are predicting potentially that we could get up to that 60-cent mark that we talked about before. I even think based off of playing out this falling wedge, there's a good chance we still get to the 80-cent mark. But you'll notice when I pull up my Fibonacci retracement, look at where we rejected right there. That's just beautiful. Right there at the golden pocket. Came down, hovered around 0.382, and it does look like we're finding some support right there. Hovering right below 0.5 though. So let's keep an eye on what is happening there. I think the next mark that it needs to take out for sure probably is going to be right there around what those analysts are predicting, that 60-cent mark at 0.786, and then start to rally, potentially climb with that bullish news up to 80 cents. That is all I have for technical analysis this morning. And again, I didn't want to go deep because we've been talking about those charts for a while now. I wanted to give you some levels to keep your eyes on to make sure if you are investing or if you are trading, you're keeping yourself focused there. T-Shroom, before we bring on Kelly Kellum, and we're going to talk about on-chain metrics, is there any chat that is specifically talking about charts and any questions they have about Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Cardano at this point?
There wasn't anything specifically about that. No. That were paid.
Okay.
There was one that was unpaid. That give me just a second here. Bitcoin hits 28.8K. Definitely a 80% chance on Ethereum going to 1,900 to 2,000.
Yeah, no, and any of those are levels. I think if you go back to my screen real quick, right there, you're going to see there is getting back to where we started. That's where I'm kind of anchoring this Fibonacci for the moment. The last peak we had there, right there at 19,000. I think it's very easy to get there. And then if we get that level, I do think there's a good chance we start to climb. And now we're not talking about Fibonacci retracement. We're talking about Fibonacci extension. And of course, the first level I'm looking at with Fibonacci extension would be around 22.6. And I hope I never said 1,000. I know in the past, last week, they said I was saying thousands with them. 2,200 on Ethereum is the next level we're looking for there. And I do think there's a good chance, and we'll talk about this here in a little bit with Kelly. I think there's a good chance that as we're looking at this relief rally, again, within a bear market, it's normal to have these relief rallies that go back up before they crash back down. I think Ethereum could be the leader of all of this. I think Cardano also has a good case with that Vasil hard fork coming out. But there's just so many bullish things about Ethereum happening right now. On the charts, in the fundamentals, in the news, I just would not be surprised to see Ethereum get over that $2,000 mark and start heading up towards 2,200 before resistance comes back in. But we will have to wait and see. Yeah. With that being said, any other questions? Any other chat?
So the Coin Father, I want to give credit. The Coin Father said that, and then Drew Barry responded to the Coin Father with a pretty astute comment, I think. I agree. We're going to hit above 25 if we don't get a rejection before the big drop. If there's not a dump after FOMC, we can talk about bottom is in, which I think that's right. if this next Fed decision doesn't result in a big sell-off,
Yeah.
you know, the bottom is in, it starts to become a conversation.
Here's what I will say to that. So
especially if the inflation number comes down from 9.1.
if we get a 75 bips, right? We get 75 basis points. Here's what I fully expect to happen. I think we're going to wrestle with this 25 mark, potentially even kind of come back down, maybe even come back down to 23.2. But just remember, we will see inflation numbers every single month, but we will not see another FOMC meeting until September. So I think there's a chance that we end up climbing above this 25 and end up shooting up to this 30, and we bounce in this range. And let me kind of scroll over here a little bit. We end up bouncing in this range. I don't want to draw on this anymore. I got to move the screen over. But what happens in September, I don't think inflation will be fixed. I would love to see it be fixed, but I don't think most of us out there think it will be. I think that we think that the Fed and the government are kind of living in la-la land at the moment, thinking that we peaked out here and that we're not going to see it get any worse. And in which case, in September, after 2 months of untamed inflation, the Fed will need to come out maybe a little more hawkish, maybe come out with 100 basis points, maybe even 125. And then that's when potentially, so we get those numbers in September. Remember that October, November region over here, let's see, right around, if we were to scroll, I had my draw tool still on. As we start to scroll over here towards October, November, that's when, again, we're going to get the FOMC come out, maybe 100, maybe 125. And a lot of people are predicting that could be the bottom of this bear market. If I were to go back and look at, this is the last thing I'm going to show, and then I'm going to go back to see Kelly Kellum. If we were to go back and look at bear markets that we had back here in 2018, for example, we did move sideways and bottom for a while in a range before we had a massive dip. On this chart, I can't show you because I have to use the BLX chart, but we covered it the other day. A lot of times we've had these relief rallies and then move sideways and then something breaks and we go back down. I just would not be surprised if the FOMC says 75 basis points, we end up working the next couple of months trading between 25 to 30, and then they get a little hawkish, and that is the catalyst for one more good dip that starts a V bottom or a spring, and then that's when we're actually going to start seeing the price move back to the upside. Again, I would love for the bottom to already be in, although I just don't know if that at this point can be called with any type of certainty. So that's all we got on the charts for today. We will cover more of that in the future. Next week's going to be very, very, very telling. But let's go ahead and bring on Kelly Kellum, and let's jump onto some on-chain metrics that we haven't covered too much here in the last week or so. Kelly, how you doing this morning?
I am doing excellent. For anybody that doesn't know, I've been kind of bouncing around the world this last week. I've been working from Europe. I was in Barcelona and then Portugal, got to Berlin this morning. So some people call it a vacation. Unfortunately, I'm working the whole time. For me, it's just a change of scenery. We have the benefit of using some rewards and points. So we're not really spending money out here, but just enjoying working from a different place. But yeah, everything you're saying, I've been following along with all the shows, and there's so much going on with the news, charts, on chain, and I'd love to take it anywhere you want to go. Just let me know what you'd like me to share, and I can bring it to you.
Yeah, I definitely want to, towards the end, bring up the Ethereum chart. So I know you and I were talking about that a couple weeks ago, and how Ethereum, again, when I say there's a lot of fundamental things out there, on chain as well, when we're looking at the wallets, Ethereum is one of the charts that has the highest levels of long-term holders and lowest levels of short-term holders. So I think that's very bullish for Ethereum. But let's start with Bitcoin, because again, even though Ethereum's kind of leading the charge right now, I do think that Bitcoin, the market very much always, even when Ethereum or another altcoin takes the lead, there's kind of like hey, we'll take the lead, but we got to keep looking back over our shoulder. Hey, what's Bitcoin doing? So let's start with Bitcoin. What are you seeing that's really interesting on your metrics over there?
Well, yeah, for me, the most important thing is to understand the macro view of what's going on. So I'm going to do a quick 30-second sort of rundown of what's happening on these other sort of very important metrics that are having a huge impact on what's going on with Bitcoin. So first thing I want to look at here is this is a 4-chart pull up of essentially the Dixie, S&P 500, Micron. This Caleb Franzen, by the way, who was on the show last week, I sort of got this from him. He's been watching Micron in relation to Bitcoin because they're tracking very close. So looking at this traditional asset and how it's performing, it has a bit of a sort of guiding light of what's happening with Bitcoin as well. And of course, Dow Jones Index. And as you can see, we have these basically W breakouts on all Micron, S&P, and Dow Jones Index, while the Dixie is falling. And one of the things I wanted to point out before we jump into on-chain, and you guys just spoke about it, is that the fact that inflation very likely isn't done yet. However, we're having some. We have to take into consideration the Dixie, which has had a clear inverse correlation with Bitcoin in crypto, over the last 10 years or so. Not 100%, but very close. Dixie isn't a standalone valuation or asset classification. It's measured against a basket of other currencies. So one of the things we have to watch for is the fact that the UK just did a higher interest rate hike than expected, and so they're basically going to be driving up the value of the British pound, which is going to have an inverse relationship to the Dixie, which also can then also have pressure on traditional markets and on Bitcoin, because now if the dollar is weakening, that could be one of the things, despite inflation, that pushes people back into crypto. So just taking that into consideration, we can jump now back into the charts, and I can show you some of the things I'm seeing, exactly what's going on. So starting here, and I'm not doing TA here, I just want to give you the macro context. Looking at this is a 2-week Bitcoin chart, the week Bitcoin chart, 4-day, and the daily. Of course, we all know we've been in this falling wedge, but we also on Market Cipher had this huge green dot, which we haven't had since basically December of 2018. This is on the 2-week chart. And on the DBSI on Market Cipher, which is basically the dual band strength indicator, it's showing, I mean, this is an incredibly bullish strength we have on this massive, this large time frame in context to Bitcoin. 2 weeks is massive. On traditional assets, 2 months is a larger time frame. But here, we're getting a lot of bullishness bleeding over into larger timeframes. And then here on the weekly, same thing. We have the 23 bullish on the DBSI. We have a massive green dot. But this is what I wanted to point out. Here on the 4-day, right here, we can see that we actually have basically, this is known as snake eyes, is what CryptoFace calls it. CryptoFace is the one that developed Market Cipher. And we're having, very strong bullish attempt. Bears trying to pull back, but having very strong bulls basically fight back into this. And this is incredible context for what's going on with Bitcoin right now. As bearish potentiality as we could have on Bitcoin right now, the larger timeframes are shaping up to actually have a very bullish sort of setup happening. Right. However, we need to also take into context, and the reason why I wanted to share this first is that sometimes people see some of this bullish narrative and then they wonder why, if you have a 3 or 4 day or even a week pullback, all of a sudden people feel like this is invalidated, all this bullishness on larger timeframes. And that's not the case. We can have a bearish week and then have a very strong bullish week following that. And the reason I say that is because these are all very bullish, but the daily, if we bring this up large, we can see the momentum waves are starting to roll over. So we could be getting a pullback. And I'll go more into that here in a second. But this is this crazy chart. And this is similar to what you're saying, Tim, that we could come all the way up here, pull back, bounce around into this range, and then find this sort of target up here at 32.
Kelly,
however,
real quick, Kelly, before you move, I want to just even clarify something to everyone who's watching. And I think that's really key that you talked about that is people need to remember when they're looking at charts or they're watching somebody do technical analysis and they see someone doing something on the weekly chart or the 2-weekly chart or the monthly chart, even when you're working on the daily chart, that doesn't mean that what you're seeing is going to take impact that day or even that week. Those charts, because the candles only begin and end on the daily chart every day, but then the weekly chart 7 days, the 2-weekly chart every 14 days. Sometimes it can take on the weekly chart a full month to actually see when you make a call on something, see it play out the right way. And so, I've seen several times where, we make a call on a weekly chart and then people get surprised when the price goes down over the next 72 hours. And it's like, hey guys, that's not what that chart's using. So for anyone who's doing TA out there, just remember, on those bigger charts, they give us a lot of excitement for the future, but you got to stay patient when you're reading them. Those are telling you things that are going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, if not months. It's when you get down to the 4-hourly chart, the hourly chart, that you can start to try to work on, hey, what's happening over the next 24 to 72 hours. So I just wanted to pause right there, Kelly, before we resume and let people know that's kind of what he's talking about right there. And I think it's a really good point of clarification for anyone listening who's trying to learn more about technical analysis.
I mean, there's no way I could say it better. You summarized that beautifully. And it's one of the things that took me, unfortunately, far too long to learn, although I was following shows like this and reading and learning. And somehow I couldn't learn from other people's mistakes. And I'm hoping everybody here can be smarter than I was, and absorb these things and try to apply them to your own trading. Apply what we've learned rather than you going through the losses that we went through, so you can have a more fruitful journey through crypto. But now, before we jump directly into the on-chain, the last thing I wanted to show, which is critical, because all this bullishness on the larger time frames, this is critical right here. If you see this right here, this is basically where we're at right now. We broke through this very critical box, which is basically the realized price and the 200-week moving average, this zone right here. And the interesting thing is, if I pull this down under the 4-hour, look at this. We broke through it. We found some resistance. And then we have flipped this to support right now, which is actually incredibly bullish. But it doesn't mean that we can't fall through it. If we do break through this, we need to really be looking at what our downside targets are. But I just wanted to put that as a moment of caution and due diligence before we jump into some on-chain charts. Yes. Now, in order to do that, I need to go to another window here. So let me share it's this right here. Here we go. So here's what I want to show you. So the net realized profit and loss, this is essentially people that have sold, and if they've sold, were they in profit or were they in loss? And of course, you can see right here in the 2017, 2018 bull run, there was a lot of profit taking, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, in a way that we should all take note of. When we look at deeper into on-chain metrics, and we go through this in the whole on-chain data analysis course within Club DeFi, these people that are selling right here, these are long-term holders taking profits into the strength of this bull trend. Now, these losses are all the people that were short-term holders, retail buying at the top and selling at a loss. Now, what I want you to notice here is we have this large period of people taking profits, and then in the bear market, we have a lot of loss, basically realized loss happening. Now, right here, of course, this is the March 2020 shenanigans that we all know about. I just don't want to mention it here on YouTube.
Pandemic.
But I guess we can say it now.
Yeah, pandemic. We're allowed to say that.
There's a lot of loss taking right here in this black swan event. However, in the context of the greater bull market, this essentially just became a blip along the way, because we actually reached two massive all-time highs in this 2021 season. Now, we did see a small pullback here in the sense of people taking loss, but now we've realized more loss than we've ever realized. And so this is setting up to where the selling pressure from people that are selling at a loss, people that the weak hands, this is showing you that the weak hands are the trend is coming up. So there's the selling pressure is being exhausted because the market is becoming stronger, because there's more long-term holder minded people or large wallets or smart money that is basically buying into these low levels. And we'll see that as we go through some of these metrics. Now, one of the things here that we need to take into consideration, nobody really talks about all that much, is the hash rate. And the hash rate has to do with mining power. How many different miners have their machines on? And when it's profitable, of course, miners are going to have their machines on. When it's not profitable, they're going to turn their machines off because the difficulty is too high, meaning there's too much contest to process transactions and win those rewards, which is how they pay their light bills essentially. And when they're basically right here, you have to also take note, this isn't people just shutting them off. This is the China debacle when China basically outlawed Bitcoin and mining for the 38th time, and all the miners moved from China to Kazakhstan or wherever they did. So that was this, and we recovered to a new all-time high. So ignore this big drop and think of it in the greater context of normal flow. We have this massive sort of almost going slightly parabolic increase in the hash rate. And then at this capitulation point, we had the miners basically were basically working at a loss. It was not profitable for them to work. And so they shut off, and there was a large downturn here that then basically, once it bottomed, started resuming upward. Now, what I really want to watch for here is when this downturn that we've seen here, when this starts to round out, which I think is likely going to happen very soon. Now, that's also relevant here in this market cap to thermocap. And essentially, this is similar to the reserve risk, but this is The data this pulls has to do with mining profitability and if the price is essentially overvalued or undervalued based on the revenue that miners are getting. And we haven't entered the green zone on this yet, which does indicate, although we're going to see some bullish charts here on chain metrics here in a second, this does indicate that there could likely still be a washout wick to the downside. So as bullish and as excited as we all are, it is definitely imperative that we all practice caution. And that doesn't mean don't DCA. That doesn't mean don't find your entries. It just means that when you do, practice good risk management, whether it means stop losses or being very calculated and breaking up your entries over several different points, whether it be several days or several weeks. So you're DCAing into that and not exposing yourself to just one price and the price dropped and then you're so upset that you couldn't just be patient.
But I think another thing about that, Kelly, look at that chart even. People need to look at that and say, we're not in the green just yet there, which is what you're talking about we need to get into. And just because we get there doesn't mean as soon as we flash into the green, automatically it's reversing back to the upside. It looks like there's even a chance we could stay. The only time we flashed down and went into it and almost immediately jumped back out was the pandemic that you're circling right there. Every other time we're looking at here, it actually spent some time there. So, this chart is another, it's to add, it's another tool to add, but don't just try to make any investment off this one chart alone.
And to that point, none of these charts have to, like this zone doesn't have to be hit and this zone doesn't have to be hit. Case in point right here in April 2021, we didn't get anywhere near this, basically this overheated zone on this metric, but we still reverse course. And that's going to be relevant. Let's see that's going to be relevant on this chart right here. We can see that this has nothing to do with miners, but one of the things a lot of people didn't, we can't be aware of every metric all the time, but we see this massive all-time high that shocked everybody because it was so exciting to get up to 64K after this crazy like shakeout on from March 2020 pandemic. But if you look right here, this is the addresses with balances of over 10,000 Bitcoin. And these folks started selling off. This is end of 2020. They're selling off all the way through this and didn't really start adding to their positions until right here. And then once it continued going down, they said, okay, we're out. And they sold back off. Now people did start buying back in right here. And the reason why I wanted to share this chart, because of the news the other day with Tesla, this period right here, this is exactly when, based on their earnings report and their meeting the other day that they showed, this is the time frame that they were selling in. That's almost basically $1 billion worth of sell pressure. And it's not just them that's reflected here. There's other whale addresses that were also selling into this. So it's good to pay attention to not only reserve risk, MVRV, but watch what the very big money is doing, because it gives you an indication that there could be a shifting trend in the market. Because if you have balances, wallets with balances of over $10,000 selling, that's an immense amount of pressure. If I sell my entire portfolio, it's not going to make a blip on the market. But if 3 whales with 10,000 Bitcoin release 30%, only 30% of their Bitcoin on the market and sell them, that would cause an enormous amount of down pressure. So it's very good to keep an eye on this. Now to keep this short, I'll just select 2 more. MVRV Z-score. This is, I think, one of my favorite on-chain metrics because it's a market value to realized value. So essentially, you're seeing the average price in which people sold based on when they bought it and when they sold. So what the realized value of those coins are, and then dividing that by the actual market value, which is actual Bitcoin price. And as you can see, when we get overheated, meaning that the realized value is the market value is going like extremely high. There's a lot of discrepancy. There's a huge disparity between the market value and the realized value. Then you're getting this overheated signals. And same is true when the market value is below the realized value, then you're getting very undervalued signals. And we're seeing that right here. And then what I can show you on the last chart I wanted to show you is a chart that I made. And that is right here. And that basically highlights that exact sort of nature. And this is basically a fib band chart that I made. And all these fibs are fib multiplications or reductions of the realized price, which is the same as realized value. And if I zoom into this on a much smaller so we can see it, these two levels right here are the levels that I was showing you on this chart that is such a critical point, the realized price and 200 week moving average. And we were sitting right below that. Sorry, we were sitting right below that, bouncing on it. And we've just barely broken through, but we've all seen wicks on any metric, on any graph. We see wicks, and some people see those wicks and go all in only to see the stuff reverse. So is this bullish? Absolutely. Does it mean that we're absolutely fully reversing? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means another building block, excuse me, another building block has been made to show that we can go up. Now, if we were to drop, well, I think we could go lower, but I honestly think that our low would be somewhere around, as you can see, that very bottom generational buy, which is a 0.618 of the realized price, and that's about 13.5.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's just time for caution right now. So that's what I'm seeing on Bitcoin.
That's we're gonna start transition here, but I think it's really cool even look at those things, the confluence that you can see between those on-chain charts and some technical analysis. And for anyone who's wondering in chat, like, hey, is Kelly suggesting you use those charts and just make all your investments based off those alone? No, because they don't tell you exact bottoms. But adding that to your technical analysis and adding that to how you're reading the market, I think what we could take away from that, Kelly, and you can tell me if you disagree, these are not saying the bottom is in. This is implying, hey, man, we are getting close. We don't know exactly when, and we don't know exactly how what that number is going to be. Nothing can pinpoint that exactly. However, if you were to buy now, or if you were to buy here very soon, that is going to be, when we look back on this in the next couple of years, it's going to show on chain you bought within a very good percentage spot. Even if the price dips down to that 13,000, you were in a very good spot. So continue to do your own research, continue to analyze your own risk to reward ratio. But I really hope that information was helpful to you guys. Yep. Last thing, and then
I just want to share one thing, and it's based on exactly what you said, and that's a tweet that I did yesterday, and it exemplifies that specific thing. And that basically, if anybody was buying at 64 or 50 or 40, it doesn't matter where you were, and it was above the price that it is now, and you're hesitant to buy now, I don't want to. This is not financial advice, but basically pulling up this metric, you can see if you take a 40% loss, you have to get a 66%, 67% gain to get back to break even. If you get a 70% loss, which is around about where we're at now, you'd have to get a 233% gain. That's if you don't DCA. If you DCA, this is why so many people in the crypto space speak about this, and this is why major investors and smart money do it, because when you DCA, it doesn't matter if you bought high or you bought low. When you do it over time, for instance, if all your entries were, you got into crypto last year, excuse me, around April and May, and then everything's just been underwater and you've just been patient. Well, now is the time to be DCAing, because every DCA you do, you're lowering your average entry, meaning the price has to go less and less amount before it gets back to break even. So it's the smartest thing to do, in my opinion.
Well, thank you so much, Kelly. We're going to transition here. We're going to talk about Coinbase in just a second, but really quick, I mean, even wrapping out that whole segment, I know a lot of you guys listened and said, holy crap, this Kelly Kellum guy is smart, but that seems confusing. And you can be confused. Here's the thing. This is all stuff that you can learn. This is all stuff. Kelly didn't know all of this here years ago. He's had to learn it. He did his research. The cool thing is we're putting all this together and more for you guys in a different package. But you know what else is confusing in the market right now is, man, how do I just handle my finances? If I'm trading, because this is a great time to still make money during trading, how do I make sure I'm tracking all that correctly? Because we know that the IRS is about to crack down. So one of our sponsors here for this video is very applicable to this situation, and it is a CPA, and that is Anthony Price. He is our CPA. He's who we use to make sure that we're handling our finances correctly in the crypto space, and gives us the financial management we need to make sure that we pay Uncle Sam as little as possible legally. Again, we would never advise you do anything illegal, but pay them a little bit and take as much profit as possible. If you are somebody who's massively confused in this space, you definitely want a CPA. And if you're on the fence about CPAs and you're like, I don't know if that's worth my investment or not, the cool thing about Anthony is you can take a 20-minute absolutely free phone call with him. There's a link in the description down below. Go click on it, take that 20-minute phone call. It's absolutely free to you, and find out if that's something that you need, or maybe even is there some advice he could give you so you could do it yourself. Either way, it's a win-win for you. Go click that link. With that being said, we're going to transition here, and we're going to keep Kelly on because I want to hear Kelly's thoughts. Coinbase, of course, is in the news for two different reasons, and we're going to cover that here over the next 10 minutes or so. But Tishum, can you quickly highlight what is going on with Coinbase? I think some people know, but for anyone who hasn't heard yet, what's happening with Coinbase right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Smay, if you want to hop on over to my screen, I've got it going on over here. Coinbase blasts the SEC over insider trading case, says none of its tokens it lists are securities. We're going to be focusing on the latter half of that headline on the alleged that these are securities that Coinbase is making available for the public through their platform. And ex-Coinbase product manager was charged Thursday with two other individuals in a first-of-its-kind crypto insider trading case, as we discussed in our Market Pulse. In a separate complaint Thursday, the SEC said that 9 of the 25 tokens allegedly traded in the scheme were securities. So digging deeper there, the SEC is taking upon itself to reopen this, to rip off the Band-Aid yet again, to reopen this case, and to question whether or not tokens are securities. And it's still been up in the air, but this is just giving the SEC an incentive to dig deeper. Coinbase's chief legal officer, Paul Grewal, denied the claims Thursday in a blog post titled, "Coinbase does not list securities, end of story." So a very clear and resounding response to the SEC claim. And just a couple more things here to read. Paul Grewal denied the claims Thursday in a blog post titled, "Coinbase does not list securities, end of story." So just reiterating that is always good to make that happen. The SEC's position is significant, as it means Coinbase may be forced to classify some of the cryptocurrencies it offers as regulated financial instruments. And Caroline Pham, commissioner of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, weighed in on the case Thursday, calling the SEC securities fraud charges a striking example of regulation by enforcement. So that kind of raises, you can leave the screen now, that kind of raises the question, and I'll put this to first Tim and then Kelly. Is this just the SEC reacting to Senator Warren's call for more regulation earlier on Monday? I want to hear what you have to say on that, Tim, and any other thoughts and comments you have on this story.
You know, I don't know if we can specifically put it on Senator Warren. I don't know. I don't know the nature of the relationship between Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren.
Sure.
However, I do know that this is definitely going to continue to be this kind of power struggle going on with the SEC. You know, I think they've kind of given up on Bitcoin. Know whether or not they did that gracefully or whether they just had to do it. You know, they're not going to go after Bitcoin, but they've made it pretty clear that every other altcoin is definitely in their what do you call that? They're in their target. You know, they're going to go after these different projects.
In their crosshairs.
Crosshairs. Thank you. I knew it was, hair was okay. All right. We're going to keep going on. The point I'm trying to make here is, though, the SEC is going to go after them. What's really important to know about Coinbase is, first of all, they just found this out. So Coinbase is not doing anything illegal. They're probably going to be in trouble, though, if they do not get rid of these projects or at least submit to authority of the SEC for that regulation, in which case that now affects all the rest of Coinbase and how it handles, no matter whether it's security or not. So there's something to continue to keep an eye on there. The other thing that I think is really interesting is, especially, we're going to cover more of this in the future, and we talked about it before, is the case that we had over there with XRP and the SEC. I think that case is going to set a very strong precedence for the future of altcoins fighting against the labeling of a security. But at this point, I know Coinbase has said this in the past. This is the last thing I'm going to say. Coinbase has been very clear, hey, we will abide with all the regulation once you've given us clarity. What is a security? What do you define it as? What do you want us to do with it once it is that way? So I think right now Coinbase is just kind of fighting to say, hey, you just kind of throw out these terms at us and then want to make us follow. You haven't even been very clear with what we're doing wrong or what we need to do to make sure that you're happy with us. So that's what I'm watching over the next little bit is I think, can we finally get Gary Gensler to be extremely clear with what he is going to be cracking down on? And then also, can we be very clear with good arguments to fight anything Gary Gensler says as far as what a security actually is? But I'd love to hear what Kelly has to think about all that.
Well, honestly, I feel like it's kind of like, I feel like the SEC has a little bit of egg on their face about everything that's happening with XRP. And in all reality, I feel like what they're really doing is they're parading their ignorance, whether they know it or not. They're absolutely parading their ignorance, because it'd be like a cop trying to give somebody DUI for drinking a bottle of water just because they think it's something else, without actually understanding that this is a bottle of water. It's not alcohol. Right. And with traditional finance, traditional securities, for instance, those are an entirely they operate in an entirely different way. They have entirely different functions. And crypto is, it is revolutionary in and of itself. And the fact that the SEC is grasping at every straw that they can to basically retroactively enforce stuff about stuff that they offered no guidance on to begin with when everybody was asking for it, I think is it's sad and it's embarrassing as an American that we have this going on when we could be set up to be a technological centerpiece in the world to support this and push it forward, but we're trying to regulate an iPad like it's a piece of paper is essentially what's happening right now with these regulations. And I do think there needs to be regulation. I think regulations need to be more on the institutions, not on the people, not on the projects.
I like that. I like that response, Kelly. That's really good. I personally think that this is kind of a regulatory body seizing the moment, taking the initiative to try to seem productive from the calls of Senator Warren. We covered that on Monday. And we tended to both Tim and I tended to agree with what Senator Warren was calling for, regulation in light of Celsius and Terra Luna and those names and kind of what's been going on in the centralized lending space of crypto. And it's kind of weird that the way that the SEC would respond to that call is by coming down on Coinbase, which is it's not a lender in the same way that the other ones were. And it's it's publicly traded, so perhaps this is going to blow over. I think the meta story here, the one that really matters, nothing to do with Facebook. The meta story is what is going to happen with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Can this be like the fourth major bad story that they shrug off in the last couple of weeks and continue to move higher, or at least maintain their gains? And there was actually an unpaid comment from Mega Spaceman Spliff that I wanted to read out. He was responding to Elio Brown. Yes, that's the theory. When bad news stops causing prices to fall more, that's one of several indicators that a bottom has been reached. Bitcoin has shrugged off bad news for 3+ weeks now. So I think that comment kind of nails what my meta expectation is in seeing what happens with this Coinbase news and how it shakes out. If Bitcoin can buck the FUD here and keep moving and hold on to these gains until the Fed decision, that's going to be really, really impressive in a showing of real strength for the crypto markets and especially for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think this story is not going to have as much of an effect on price, which is, we're very much a price analysis channel here. So anyone who's wondering, hey, will this dip on Bitcoin's price, maybe even Ethereum's price, maybe even Cardano's price? I don't know if this has much of a price issue, at least directly, as it has a continued concerns for Coinbase. Because while right now, I don't want to make anyone FUD out and be afraid and think that if they have money on Coinbase, by the way, I have money on Coinbase. I don't want to make you feel like you're about to lose everything, but this is continued pressure. There's already been some question marks with Coinbase. I mean, they've been doing some layoffs, and yes, I know they just launched in Italy, and so that's good for them. But other than that piece of information, there's not a lot of great things happening over here with Coinbase. There's some confusion with their new trading platform that people, I was talking with somebody the other day who was literally so concerned that anything they had on Coinbase Pro was going to get wiped away. It's like, well, that's not what's happening. But unfortunately, there are people out there that have those concerns. So this is just one more kind of notch against Coinbase that I'm going to encourage you guys to continue. I'm not saying freak out and go crazy, but if you are holding money on Coinbase, and the truth is, if you're holding money on any exchange, if you plan on holding that money for a long time, I heavily suggest you get a cold wallet. I think that these exchanges are in for a lot of regulational clarity here soon, and it's going to be good for the space for legal reasons, but it's going to cause some concern with users. The best thing you can do is be a person who's like, hey, if that exchange goes down, it won't hurt me. But yeah, I think that's the bigger thing of this story. Is it's not necessarily a price hitting, which it could trickle down. If Coinbase goes down, I think there could be a dip in some prices as well, especially if people lose a lot there. But I think the bigger thing is, can Coinbase continue to fight this from the SEC and keep these coins on their exchange? That's gonna be the bigger question there. Let's see here. Any wrap-up thoughts from you guys before we close this out and go and super chats? We have our HODL Trophy winner, and then
I have one.
Yeah, let's hear Kelly real quick.
I have one. It's basically just tying up what you said. it's fine to have money on an exchange when you're actively using the exchange, but it really makes no sense to be storing your entire portfolio or even half of it on the exchange. One, because you shouldn't be trading your entire portfolio or half of it. You should have, and we talk about this in the trading course on Club DeFi, you should have most of your portfolio stored safely in either private wallets, a mix between cold storage and maybe also hot wallets as well, if you like, but not on an exchange. Have somewhere between 5 to 10%, 10% if you're an active good trader on exchange you're actively using. And as you're taking profits, those profits go into your cold storage. That way, if anything were to happen, you're only taking a 10% hit in the worst case scenario. So it's a really good practice to make sure you keep up to date with.
Yeah, I saw in chat someone asked Tim what would be a good cold wallet to have. There's lots of good ones out there, but we actually have a link in the description. You can go down there and look at it. We have a link for Ledger that you can go check out their stuff down there. But there are a lot of good ones. I don't want to, just because we have that affiliate link, say, oh, you have to get it. It would support our channel. It would, which is awesome. But I very much care about you guys just being secure. So whether you get Ledger, whether you use our affiliate link, whether you go get a different cold wallet, the point of this is go get a cold wallet. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was one super chat from Elio Brown donating, I believe, $5 in Canadian dollars, so just under $5. Tim, looking good without the hat.
Come on.
Big ups. At Smay, at T-Shroom, at Kelly. Enjoy the weekend, fellas. Win Reels on Reels video. Smay.
Yeah, when?
Guys, I think I'm going to start releasing them next week, but I'm going to do a big batch recording on Saturday, so tomorrow.
Wow,
so
a batch recording.
Yeah, so I'm going to record a bunch of them, and then they're going to go out throughout the week. So,
do you have a teaser as to what movie is going to be the first one?
I actually do have the list of movies.
Are you going to tease it, or are you going to let them?
I'll just go ahead. It's going to take 2 seconds. I can just go ahead and say them. All right,
I'm really excited to see what movies.
So the movies I'm going to be reviewing are Thor: Love and Thunder, Where the Crawdads Sing, Elvis, Top Gun: Maverick, Jurassic Park: Dominion. And Nope, I'm actually watching that tonight.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be reviewing some classics. So the original Jurassic Park, Alien, King Kong, the 2005 version, and Lord of the Rings. And then I'm going to be reviewing the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. So
Dang,
that's all going to be.
That's a lot.
That's all going to be coming out throughout the week next week. First one's going to be going out on Sunday. So shout out to you guys.
Boom.
Big ups.
Well, it's time. It's official. We knew who was going to win beforehand anyway. But it's time to officially announce the winner of the HODL Trophy.
Who is it?
I'm back in the HODL Trophy winning category. Again, so this makes it, let's see, this would be 4 in the last 6. I'm trying to expand it out there.
Congratulations, Tim.
I'm very excited. Very excited for this Win Positive Friday. Back in that W column. And I think I'm gonna win next week as well.
Who do you have to thank?
I have to thank, well, the creator, JD Park, which I haven't seen JD Park in a while. I miss JD, but JD made this for us. I have to thank JD. I have to thank Bitcoin's price. I have to thank the Bulls. I have to thank Jerome Powell for continuing to be kind of dovish. Yeah, I have to thank the EU and the UK for putting some strength back to their dollars so that it goes against the DXY. And then, of course, because we trade and we're predicting based off the dollar, the Bitcoin over dollar thing, that's bullish for me right there.
What about the devs over at Ethereum? Making the merge happen.
No, I'm not going to.
What about Smay?
I think Smay for continuing just to be bearish in every prediction he ever gives. Yeah, so you're right, Smay. Thank you.
Nice.
Okay, that's a good time on that one.
Love it.
Oh gosh.
Kelly, what's up?
I'd like to say one thing before we all go. Thank you for having me back on. It's a pleasure to be back. And I also wanted to shout out special big love, spirit hug, everything to our brother Jebb.
Yes.
Just want to send love and prayers to him because we all love him. We miss him. He's taking care of stuff in his life right now, which we all need to do sometimes. So, and other than that, thank you to the audience for always being here with Crypto Jebb channel. All the members of Club DeFi, all the members on this channel, names in green. And thank you guys for having me back.
Yes, yeah. And again, the hope is, and I know there's been the hope he's coming back this week. Jebb is he's going through the ringer right now with health and some family news that came out. Keep him in your prayers. We do love him. No, we have not gotten rid of him. No, we do not. He's not dead. He's not. Jebb is just going through a whole heck of a lot right now. But again, this whole channel, the whole thing, and I talked with Jebb this week about it. He wanted to remind you guys, said he loved you guys. and remind you guys, hey, this channel is bigger than him. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us. This is something that he started with a community of people, and you guys are what makes this special. So thank you so much for your continued just daily, coming in here and engaging with us. You guys are truly what makes Crypto Jebb special. With that being said, though, this is our last show for this Friday. So this afternoon at 12, I will be on Cointelegraph with Data Dash. Make sure you guys check that out as well. We're going to be talking more about that Bitcoin price and potentially, could we get up to that $30,000 level anytime soon? We're gonna dive into all of that and more. Make sure you guys, thank you, Kelly. Glad to have you back on. Go follow him on Twitter at Kelly Kellum. It's really simple. Do not fall for one of his fakes. Spell it just like his name, Kelly Kellam, Kelly Kellum. And, Thursday nights, I know he had one yesterday. Or did you have one yesterday on vacation? Either way, most Thursdays he has a Twitter Spaces that is phenomenal. I've gotten to listen to it a couple times, been on it a couple times. It is great stuff. Make sure you go tune in and follow that. We will have a weekend wrap-up video starting every Friday now. This Friday will be the first one. Every Friday we will have some weekend wrap-up. So if you missed any of our shows or you missed out on some of the content, we'll make sure to get you guys up to date with what is happening in the crypto space every single Friday. With that being said, though, guys, I love each and every single last one of you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.